Research is fit, and today we're going to be talking about vitamin D. The title may be misleading, but it is what it is. Y'all are here, so you better watch and get ready to learn. If you think vitamin D is just a simple vitamin for bone health, it is time for an update. Medical research now classifies vitamin D as a potent steroid hormone. This means it functions similarly to other hormones in your body, traveling through the bloodstream to influence cellular behavior. It dictates the expression of thousands of genes and is essential for muscle recovery, immune regulation, sleep quality, and gut health. Vitamin D is called a steroid because it is a steroid hormone with a broken chemical ring structure. This specific shape allows it to bind to the vitamin D receptor, which is found in almost every tissue in the human body. Because it can interact with so many different types of cells, it exerts widespread effects far beyond its traditional role in calcium absorption. Vitamin D undergoes a specific two-step activation process. First, your skin produces cholecalciferol, which is another name for vitamin D, and it gets produced when exposed to UVB radiation. Okay? This is transported by the vitamin D binding protein to the liver, where it is converted into 25-hydroxyvitamin D or calcifediol. This is the form clinicians measure in blood tests. Finally, it reaches the kidneys, where it is converted into 1.25 dihydroxyvitamin D or calcitrol, the most biologically active form of the hormone. Why do people have different reactions to vitamin D? The answer lies in the GC gene, which encodes the vitamin D binding protein. Genetic variations in this gene can change how tightly the protein binds to vitamin D. If an individual has a variant that binds the hormone more loosely, they may show lower levels on a standard blood test, while actually having more free or bioavailable hormones circulating to tissues. This explains why some people, maybe athletes as well, right? They show low lab results, but they experience no symptoms of deficiency. Now, recent research has uncovered a secondary metabolic pathway independent of the liver and kidneys, an enzyme called CYP11A1. This enzyme can metabolize vitamin D3 directly within peripheral tissues like the skin. This produces novel metabolites that can reduce inflammation and inhibit cell proliferation locally. This pathway is one reason why natural UV exposure can provide physiological benefits that oral supplementation alone may not fully replicate. Now, vitamin D works through two main mechanisms. First, the genomic pathway involves the hormone binding to receptors in the cell nucleus, which then acts as a transcription factor to turn specific genes on or off. Second, the non-genomic pathway involves membrane-bound receptors such as PDIA3, which trigger immediate rapid physiological responses such as the movement of calcium across cell membranes. And vitamin D is essential for the function of skeletal muscle, particularly type 2 muscle fibers, which is your fast twitch muscle fibers. This is very important information for my explosive brothers and sisters. These fibers are responsible for explosive strength and power. Clinical evidence shows that deficiency leads to atrophy in these fibers and impairs the calcium signaling required for muscle contraction. Correcting a deficiency can restore muscle fiber cross-sectional area and improve contractile force. Now, when muscle tissue is damaged through intense exercise, the body repairs it using satellite cells, which are specialized stem cells. Vitamin D is required for the proliferation and differentiation of these cells. By modulating the inflammatory response and signaling pathways, vitamin D helps satellite cells repair microtrauma efficiently, which is critical for physical recovery. The intestinal epithelium contains a high density of vitamin D receptors. Vitamin D helps maintain the integrity of tight junctions, the protein structures that prevent leaky gut or the translocation of pathogens into the bloodstream. It also helps modulate the gut microbiome, encouraging the growth of the beneficial bacteria that produce short chain fatty acids, which, as you may know, reduces systemic inflammation. Now, vitamin D receptors are located in the brain regions responsible for sleep regulation. Vitamin D helps regulate the gene expression of tryptophan hydroxylase 2, an enzyme that converts tryptophan into serotonin. Since serotonin is the precursor to melatonin, optimal vitamin D status is linked to better sleep architecture, more consistent circadian rhythms, and reduced sleep latency. Maybe one day I'll do a video on circadian rhythm if you do not know what that is. Now, vitamin D does not function in isolation. Magnesium is an essential cofactor for the enzymes that activate vitamin D and for the receptor to function correctly. Without it, vitamin D remains largely ineffective. Vitamin K2 is also necessary because it activates proteins like osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein, which ensure that the calcium vitamin D absorbs is deposited into the bone matrix rather than accumulating in soft tissues like the arteries. Now, this is the final slide, and we're going to conclude here. This is the optimal plan you see at the bottom. For athletic and systemic optimization, many experts suggest a serum level between 40 and 60 nanograms per milliliter. Because reaching these levels through diet and sunlight alone is often difficult, oral supplementation of vitamin D3 is commonly used. You may be already taking it because your doctor probably issued it to you. It's very common, so it's not a problem, okay? Especially during the winter time. You may not get a lot of sun, so that's completely normal. And to ensure safety and efficacy, it should be taken with vitamin K2 and magnesium. That was the most recent slide we discussed. Hope you paid attention. And because vitamin D can influence melatonin production, morning dosing is generally recommended to avoid potential interference with sleep patterns. Now that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, this presentation. I worked really hard on this, and and the reason why this video took so long, you can see like the spacing from my other videos, is because I read so much sources for this video. Um, Previous videos were about like I say 20 sources on average, right? This video was kind of pushing 300, 300 sources, yeah. And I got it all on a doc, all the sources, and instead of just like posting it, the references like that, I want to see what y'all think, okay? Because I know I don't get much viewers. If y'all were to comment down and ask for references, I would willingly put them down. You know, it'd just be nice to have some engagement if people want to like study more. You understand what I'm saying? Just to get to know my audience more. So, anyways, that's it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.